Hello mathematicians, welcome to Number Corner. For Number Corner today, we are going to be working with our daily rectangle. We are going to introduce something called the base 10 bank. You won't need any materials today. Let's get started. Now you are going to be working with some very special rectangles for this month and the next month. I want you to have a look at these three pieces and think about how they compare to each other. How are they different? How are they the same? Now you may be thinking a few different things. You may be thinking, well, one of them is red and the other two are green. You may also be thinking that this red piece is much bigger than these other two pieces. You may also have noticed that there are many small squares inside the red piece and the same size small squares inside this long green piece. These pieces are called a hundreds mat, a tens strip, and a ones piece. Now, knowing that, I want you to think for a moment about how many ones you would need to push together to form a rectangle the same size as the tens strip. How many of these pieces would you need? Show a connection if you were thinking you would need 10 pieces. Well, how did you know that? Well, maybe you counted the squares in this strip. Or maybe you knew from the names that, well, if this is a ones piece and this is a tens piece, there must be 10 inside this strip. Good thinking. How many ones would you need to push together to form a square the same size as the hundreds mat over here? Now, I want to challenge you to find out without counting every single square on this hundreds mat. How many are there? How do you know? Well, you could have been thinking a few different things. If you are thinking there's 100 squares on this mat, show a connection. Good thinking. You could have thought, well, if I have 10 ones in this strip, I can count the strips by 10 in this mat. You could have started over here and counted 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. You may also have noticed that this is called a hundreds mat. Well, if this is a 10 strip with 10 pieces, this hundreds mat probably also has 100 ones pieces or squares. Now that we've had a moment to look at the pieces we'll be using, let's look at where we'll be putting them. When we update our base 10 bank, we'll be using this chart. We have all of our pieces over on the left, our hundreds mat, our 10 strips, and our ones pieces. We will put our hundreds on the left here, our tens in the middle, and our ones on the right. Before we start to fill in this chart, let's look at how we will be doing that. Now, we are going to use that chart to store our rectangles, and we'll be calling that chart the base 10 bank. Now, this bank will work for us a lot like any big piggy bank or bank would work for you. You might even have a piggy bank at home where you store your change. Each day, when we do the daily rectangle, we will deposit rectangles into this chart. We will use 2 spinners to figure out how many rectangles to deposit. There will be a spinner numbered 1 through 6 to tell us how many tens we'll need. There will be another spinner, numbered 4 through 9, that will tell us how many ones we need. Today, we're just going to spin and deposit our rectangles. We'll talk more about our chart on another day when we update our bank. Let's start by making our first deposit. Let's start with our 1 through 6 spinner to see how many tens we'll need. We will start with 4 tens in our bank. We'll take our tens pieces and move 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces into our bank. Let's spin for our ones. We will need 5 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many small squares do we have in our bank? Think about how many 10 strips and how many ones we have. Now if I'm counting my strips, I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4 strips of 10. Well, that tells me that I have 40 pieces over here. And then I can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. And I know that 40 plus 5 equals 45. So we will start with our bank having 45 squares. Now we'll come back to our bank another day and add to it. Your job to show your teacher that you learned about our Base 10 bank today is to go into Seesaw and fill in how many squares we have in our bank today. I'll see you next time for Number Corner.